Welcome to the third video in our Connect Me series, Celebrate Your Street Together. This unit, we're looking at building styles and some of the reasons behind them. So, Jojo, when were the main British building booms?
Yes, so I'm going to share screen again, so relate it back to the written unit. And one of the first building booms starts off, and I'm going to scroll up. I would put it in around the 1840s, so that conjunction between late Georgian and early Victorian. We did some work on Montley Grand, and one of the things that we uncovered in Exeter again, one of the things that we uncovered is that there was a wave of returners to Britain at the abolition of slavery, at the final abolition of slavery, when they started giving it compensation. So there was a lot of old money coming back into Britain, looking for the grander type of villa and townhouse that we see witnessed on Montley Grand, for instance, in Exeter, and indeed all over the country. Really interesting that they will demonstrate things like verandas and other aspects that they brought with them from the empire back into Britain. So that would be one of the first building expansions that we can see on our streets when we walk around. Most cities, most towns will evidence that particular building boom. I'm scrolling down. So the next one that really happens, really is evidence as you walk around our towns, is the late Victorian building boom. So here we've got social change. So we've got a lot of people moving swiftly up the social ladder, and in the late Victorian period you'll see terraces of brick-built houses being thrown up all over the country. So that's in the 1870s, 1880s, late Victorian. Then you will certainly see in the turn of the century into 1910, with the coming of the railways, you've got your Edwardian terraces. So again, a very familiar sight in most of our cities. So that's about 1910. And finally, again, I'm scrolling, something will be very familiar to all of us in between the wars in the 1930s. There was a huge building boom, probably one of the biggest the country's seen, of both private builders and local authority. This is when a real expansion of council estates happened between the wars. So the 1930s semi is something that will be very familiar to all of us.
Wow. So what was behind all of these? So you mentioned kind of colonial plantation owners returning and spending money in the 1840s. So what was it that was driving each of these? Is it just to do with money and business, or is it something more?
Yeah, every time there's a building boom, and I think this is really the main concept to pull out of this particular unit. There's only one big concept sitting underneath each of these examples, and that is, whenever there's a building boom, it is economic, but it's socio-economic. There's something going on, there's something to note. So what the invitation is to walk around your place, be in your place, and be mindful of, okay, so we're getting a lot of this. We're getting a lot of this particular building phenomenon in this area. And just stop and dwell for a little while and think back about what that might mean in a socio-economic point of view. Because social life and economics are always, well, we know that in our modern lives, don't we? They're always really, really closely linked. So it might be something like those returners to the at the end of empire. It's your place might be much more evidenced by these 1930s examples. So you might be part of that expansion that happened between the wars, when Lloyd George promised that we would have homes fit for heroes, and huge amounts of money were put into ensuring that people who came back from the First World War were properly housed. And so that's the invitation really in this unit. It's this video needn't be too long for this. There's one big concept to engage you in, and that's take a look at your place. Take a stroll. What is the predominant building style and the age of the buildings within your, obviously your street or your broader area? And then ask yourself, why is that? What was happening at that time? What's the story that sits underneath that building style? Is it about being in a war context, a post-war context, as the 1930s building boom was, and again in the 1950s when people were coming back and needing rapid houses, and we see this expansion of prefabs? Was it related to that? Or was it related?
So I was going to say, is there a difference between, in terms of the pattern of home ownership or social housing within all of this?
Yeah. We first see social housing in the 1930s, and a very rapid expansion of local authority estates built in one big sweep. Now that's really the first time that we see it. Before that, it would be much more traditionally smaller areas of almshouses type. Type thing. So between the wars is that is a particular social phenomenon. We get to see these large estates of local authority housing. Yeah, good point.
Yeah, thank you.